first people that I led to Christ many years ago was a young man who believed that he had committed the unforgivable sin. In fact, that was the thing. He had been raised in a Christian home, but that was the thing that had kept him from Christ for some time, because he believed that he had blasphemed the Holy Spirit and he had committed this sin that was unpardonable. And certainly Christians have been haunted by these words of Jesus. We find them in the Gospels. One of the places we find them is in Mark chapter 3, where Jesus says that all sins will be forgiven the children of men, and whatever blasphemies they utter, but whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit never has forgiveness, but is guilty of an eternal sin. And so I've met Christians who thought that they had committed this. One of the classic examples is John Bunyan. In his spiritual autobiography, Grace Abounding to the Chief of Sinners, he talks about these months of agony and torment that he experienced because he believed he had committed this sin. So it's an important question to answer. What is the unforgivable sin? And I think if we just go back to the context where Jesus said this, it becomes pretty clear what this is. So in the context, Jesus had performed miracles, and many of his miracles were exorcisms, where he had cast demons out of people. And there were people who were criticizing Jesus. They were not believing in Jesus, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence of the power of God on his life, the power of the Spirit working through him. And so his accusers came and they said, you've cast out demons by the power of demons. And so they called Jesus Beelzebub. Jesus himself was casting out demons by the power of demons. So what they were doing is they were in the face of the clear and irrefutable evidence of the power of God working in the life of Jesus Christ. They were witnessing this in person. And in the face of that, they were attributing the work of the Holy Spirit through Jesus Christ to the work of Satan. And it's in that context that Jesus says they have blasphemed the Holy Spirit and they have committed a sin, which is a sin that cannot be forgiven. So when we ask this question today, can a Christian today commit an unforgivable sin? I think we're in a different situation in that we're not eyewitnesses to Jesus. So we're not seeing these miracles of Jesus firsthand ourselves. So there's a difference there. And for any person who believes that Jesus is the Christ, that Jesus is the Son of God, and who wants their sins to be forgiven, certainly their sins can be forgiven. All sins can be forgiven. The one thing that would be dangerous is for a person to have studied for themselves the record of Christ's work in the gospel and believe that Jesus Christ really did perform miracles, but then be utterly convinced in their own mind and heart that this was not God at work, but that it was actually an evil power at work. And so to call Jesus evil and say that it was by the power of evil that Jesus did the miracles that he did. And for a person to come to that conclusion as their settled opinion about Jesus Christ, that would be a very dangerous thing. But for anyone who wants their sins forgiven and believes that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, was anointed with the Spirit, and asks him to forgive their sins, that person can be forgiven of their sins and has not committed an unforgivable sin.